Welcome to Business Legal Lifecycle TV, the live TV show all about the legal aspects of your business to help educate you on complex legal terms in an easy to understand manner, to help understand why you need to do certain things in your business from a legal point of view, and to help you develop a plan for the future. Our mission at Business Legal Lifecycle is to help empower all small to medium-sized businesses around the world to get access to legal advice so that they can help build their communities and make the world a better place. Did you know that any business owner is on average 7 months away from losing everything? That is the average time it takes from a successful business to fold when an aspect of their business is not set up correctly. Have you ever wanted to get legal advice but didn't understand what was going on? Do you feel like there is a divide between lawyers and their clients? Then this TV show is for you. It is all about empowering you and your business with the knowledge and tools to ensure that this doesn't happen to you. Business Legal Lifecycle TV delivers a twice-weekly show focusing on the legal aspects of your business. At lunchtime on Mondays, we present Fast Fix Monday, a quick 5 to 10 minute show that will give you some actionable steps to consider for the week for your business. And at lunchtime on Wednesdays, we present our in-depth show of between 30 minutes and an hour, where we go through complicated legal aspects of your business in a simple to understand, plain English manner. And whether that is through educational pieces or interviews with experts in their fields.
Afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Business Legal Lifecycle TV. Today is one of our interview episodes, which is really exciting. We really enjoy the interviews. We know that the people we get on are really experienced in their areas, and that the information that they share with everyone is always really valuable. And we appreciate, obviously, them spending time to contribute to Business Legal Lifecycle TV. So today we're interviewing a gentleman by the name of Adam Jones. Now, he's from Black Bear Investment Group, and we think it's important to talk about in this phase. Obviously, we're talking about investing in property, but the way he does it and the information that he can share with you allows you to potentially go a couple of different ways. And he'll share that in the interview that Jeremy did with him, and would encourage everyone to have a listen to it or watch it, take some notes. Adam's details will be on there, so you can get in contact with him if you've got any other questions, or through us as well. Great interview. Now, as I said, Adam Jones, the founder of Black Bear Investment Group. He's super qualified. He's a real estate agent. He also used to be a lawyer and saw the light and removed himself from that field. So he's got a strong background in property development. So he's managed his own projects over the last, 10 years or so, is it? Yeah. And he's also moved into syndication for property investments. And that's why we thought it'd be great to have him on board for this episode, so he can talk about syndication and investing in property. It may not be that you have to do the project yourself. You could use someone like Black Bear Investment Group and contribute some funds to that. So it gives you a bit of experience about running a project and seeing how complex and those sorts of things are. So we've known Adam for some time. We've done a lot of work with him and his other team members at Black Bear Investment Group. And we know that they've got a lot of information that they're willing to share, which is strange sometimes. People don't like to share, but we know Adam and Paul and Janine like to share the information. So, Jeremy, you did the interview. What was the sort of top 3 takeaways that you got out of the interview?
Yeah, look, this was a really fun interview. Unfortunately, Adam didn't have a camera, so you don't get to see him if you're watching the Facebook Live. But there's a nice picture of Adam that you'll see, and we actually show a lot of examples of the developments that he's done over the years. So the top 3 things that you're going to take away from watching today's show. The first one is Adam's reason for getting into property investment, and I think that's really important to understand why someone does something, because as you'll hear, he was going on a particular path and decided to change that completely and get into a completely different investment. So it's interesting to hear his reasons for that. The second one is the importance of starting off small. So many people get into property investment and think, I'm going to make a killing out of this. I'm going to build the next 30-story tower on the Gold Coast, and they've got no experience in building or investing in property. And Adam and I have a chat around that, and you'll see his progression. We actually go through his first project, Craig, which is really interesting, going back right back to when he started. And it was the end of 2008, and we're recording this in 2018. So it was really interesting to go back and see what he did to start off small, and then to see even 10 years later the kind of projects he is doing now, which really provide great feedback and a great investment for him. Simple things that really he can get his teeth into and are really interesting. And the third one is I talk through the different types of consultants. And as anyone who's watched or listened to any of our podcasts know, one of my favorite phrases is "you don't know what you don't know." And when you see the list of consultants, and when you have a look at the workbook, you'll see the different lists of consultants that you need to have in property development. You'll see that this is really an area where you need to be talking to those consultants and get the right advice. So look, this was, as I said before, this was a really fun interview. It was really fun to get to talk to someone that we've done a lot of work with, but also to go through some really practical stuff about what you can do when you invest in property. So look, I really hope you enjoy my interview with Adam. So here we go. Welcome, Adam, to Business Legal Lifecycle TV and our podcast.
Thank you, Jeremy. Thanks for having me.
Great. So, Adam, we're going to talk through a few topics today, but I wanted to start about you and your business. So, give everyone a bit of an idea about where you come from and how you got to where you are now. So, do you want to tell us a little bit about your history and how did you get into property development?
Yeah, right. Thank you. So, look, as you mentioned earlier, I did do law at uni. I also did applied science degree at uni, but I didn't really love either. Kind of, I guess, fell into it. It wasn't something I was terribly passionate about. I practiced law for a few years. Didn't really suit where I was up to, I guess, in my life. Long hours, young family, that kind of thing. Always had an interest in property. So I'd done a couple of projects sort of part-time while still working. So just, make some phone calls with the door shut kind of stuff.
Yep.
So, and then, went part-time in 2008 to see if I could sort of make a go of this property thing. I felt like I'd sort of made more money, took less time, had more fun. So I quit the end of sort of 2008 it was. And then obviously ran straight into the GFC. So the timing wasn't super, but you learn from these things.
Yep. And what did you learn from the GFC?
Well, initially it was great because interest rates just came way down and made holding property much easier. And I think, as most people would know, property here stood up pretty well because of the mining boom, and there was still a lot of money floating around at that point. So initially it was pretty good because it just made holding property a whole lot easier. And that I guess that was a lot of my strategy at that point, was building to hold.
Yep.
It really suited at the time.
Yeah, cool. Well, that's good and good to learn some of those lessons in the hard times, because I think if you can start out and do well in a GFC, then you're going to do well going forward, aren't you?
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. All right. So let's go back to when you first started and your first project. You sent me some photos.
Yep.
So do you want to talk through those? We'll start with the aerial shot of the site.
Yeah, so it was a splitter in Hendra, just the 1 into 2. Good spot. I knew enough to know that you could subdivide the property. I was, to be honest, quite unprepared when it came to knowing the exact costs involved and the order of things. So it took far too long and probably cost far too much. But it was a pretty decent market at the time, and despite my incompetence, it still made sort of, I think it would be about 150 grand, which was a big deal at the time out of my first project. So, I thought this property thing was pretty easy at that point.
Yeah. Well, the second photo shows the house itself. Is that something that you've still, did you leave that house or did you move it?
Yeah, we didn't touch it.
We
didn't do anything. So I was on a corner, obviously, and it was pretty well positioned over to one side. So we just put in a driveway. It was really just a bare minimum exercise, that one.
Yeah.
It was, like I said, I knew a bit. I'd done some courses and tried to educate myself through books and that sort of thing. But I guess there's no substitute for having a crack, and that was my having a crack project.
Yeah. Well, it's a good one to start with. I think that's one of the keys, isn't it? To start off small. You get these people who try and start off with these massive developments, and they don't know what they're doing, and it ends up costing them a lot of extra money.
Yeah, no, look, that's right. And even I think you see a lot of guys that do a couple of things and then go real big, quick, and that's not something that's appealed to me. I guess I've been doing it for a while now, but I've still kept it at a level that I feel comfortable at.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that's a good way to approach it. So obviously you've got, over the years, you've gained a lot of experience in the industry. How do you think that's helped you in what you're doing now and the kind of things that you're getting into now?
Look, sometimes I feel like I wasted that 5 years at uni, because I guess I don't explicitly work in the industry that I trained for, but that's probably not fair. I mean, law is a pretty good general knowledge for most types of businesses, to be honest. And it certainly helps to know a way around a contract, and you learn how to negotiate, and as well as just the people you meet as well. And that's a big part of what I do now is, I mean, essentially running a project. I just coordinate other people to do their roles. So I need to know a little bit about all those different disciplines. But essentially it's just, I guess, a project management role. But yeah, most of what I know about property development now, I've learned from doing it over the last 10 years. The networking groups and other educational events can be quite useful. I think the most benefit for those events are the other people you meet. Because a lot of what you do in property development is so site specific that, hearing the process from someone else is useful, but often, it can't be adapted to the particular site you're working on because everything's so different. But yeah, like I said previously, there's no substitute for doing it yourself.
I like what you said about uni and not being wasted time. I think that's fair. There's a lot of us trained lawyers who don't actually go and practice law. So there's it's something that's very common, but it does give you a good grounding. And I tend to agree with you as well that there's no substitute for actually practicing and actually doing something to actually learn it, especially something as diverse as property development.
No, that's right. Yeah, I guess not all of us see the light and get out of law. Some of us stay in and continue to suffer.
That's right. Well, I'm 15 years in, so
oh, jeez,
I'm a beggar for punishment. All right, so let's have a little bit of chat around the investing in property. So, what attracted you to property investment as opposed to, say, getting into the share market as an investment strategy?
I don't know. I guess, look, some things, I guess people are certainly just naturally drawn to some things because they find it interesting as opposed to others. And I guess that was where my interest in property came. Initially, it was probably more of a curiosity than a defined career path or an investment path. I guess something I like about property compared to something like shares is the bricks and mortar part of it. You can drive past the site, you can see progress, and there's a lot of satisfaction involved for me when you come to the end and you see it all come together, and you feel like it's sort of paid off. And I guess the thing that the investment side that I enjoyed about property was the ability to make money irrespective of the time spent, and that's something very different to a legal profession in that, the reward for development and building properties to hold and rent, they tend to be based on, finding a great site or getting a great approval or building a good product. And it's different to explicitly swapping time for money, which is what I felt my life as a lawyer was like. You see the guys ahead of you and look, there's no doubt you can make a lot of money in that game, but it was clear that the amount of hours tended to go along with the amount of money. And I'm not saying I don't work hard now, but the difference now is I get to choose how I spend my time, and there's also that ability to, if you just find a great deal and on sell it, I mean, you can make a disproportionate amount of money for the time spent.
Yes.
And that's certainly an exciting prospect when it comes along in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and as you know, we do fixed fees. We don't charge time because I agree with you that the idea of time for money just doesn't work. And you only have a finite amount of time, and so you got to spend that doing the things that you like doing. So, and that's good that you found property development as such a great way to earn money and keep yourself interested. So let's get into some practical stuff about what before you get a project, what are the key things that you have to have in place before you'll take on a project these days?
Look, there's a range of things. There's, I guess, project-specific things, but even before you start looking for a project, you need to have the right legal structure in place. There's obviously accounting advice that goes along with that legal advice. You have to have a good idea about the costs involved in the type of project that you're looking at. You have an idea of how long it might take. Know your financial capacity, and that's really important at the moment. And linked to that is knowing the sorts of terms that are available from a lender for a particular type of project, because that is a moving feast at the moment. What was okay 6 months ago is not okay now, and it'll be something different in 6 months from now. So there's no point, I guess, getting excited, going to auctions on Saturday or making offers if you haven't taken that advice and done that research up front. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, and I think that's a good list of things to do that so many people do miss, because they see something in the paper, or they hear that their friend's done made $100,000 from a subdivision, and then they just dive in without getting the right things in place before they go ahead. Yeah, look, and that finance thing is such a big deal at the moment. And we had a recent example in our business where I was getting a great deal out of a big bank on a small style of project, and it felt a bit too good to be true. So I went and I'd pushed through as many as I could, as quickly as I could. So I got 3 through, and then on the fourth one I had under contract, they changed the goalposts on me, and that particular project went from needing about a smaller amount, like 250 cash, to needing double in 500 grand, and that was, I hadn't allocated those funds, and it took it was a bit tricky to deal with that. So that's a small project, and a relatively minor change in internal policy in a bank meant I needed an extra 250 grand pretty quick. So you amplify that on a bigger project or doing multiple projects, and that finance can really catch you out at the moment. So that's a big thing to be aware of. Yeah.
And do you find that having a bank that you work with closely is a good thing? Or, because I know a lot of people and a lot of property people that I work with talk about having multiple banks and playing them off against each other, that kind of thing, or having a mortgage broker. Do you find that having a relationship with one bank works better for you?
Yeah, at the moment it is. Historically it was, we had, all of our transactional banking and long-term lends were with one bigger bank, but their development policies were not particularly useful. So we had a couple of years there where we just sort of taking money wherever we could get it. But at the moment we've got almost all of our development lending at one bank. And look, if you get a good deal, I'm just happy to keep going back to the same well until it's dry, basically. And we're careful at how we structure it in terms of, keeping entities separate and projects specific to specific entities, and not cross-collateralizing and things like that. Look, I'll take anyone's money if the terms are right. Yeah.
Well, I think, and you're right about the cross-collateralization, that a lot of people don't realize what they're signing up to, and they have multiple loans going which way and that, and that they could lose everything if one fails. So I think that's a very key point for people to understand.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about the consultants. So obviously, you've alluded to it a couple of times in what you said earlier. But what are some of the key consultants that you work with to get the most out of your investment?
Look, there's a whole list. The key one, and the one I talk to most, I suppose, is the town planner. So that's zoning overlays, setback height, local plans, various other constraints. But the biggest thing I guess they advise on is particularly within Brisbane City Council, is the decisions can not be that consistent. And often the town planner will say, look, at the moment they're focusing on this type of project, and you're in for more attention if you're pursuing that type of project. So they're vital. Civil engineer, I talk to them a lot, obviously, as well. Location and capacity of pipes, flooding. Obviously, there's a lot of water around Brisbane, so you got to be across those sorts of overlays. The architect and designer. It's very, very useful if you have a relationship where you can get a quick sketch up front, during a due diligence period, just to confirm that what you think you can get on the site can actually be put on the site.
Builder
as well. again, it's very helpful if you can have someone that you can get an idea of costs from at the early stage. There's no point, getting a DA, working through detailed design, getting all of your documents in order, and then finding out that it costs way too much to build and the project doesn't work.
Yes.
You can, if you can run your ideas past someone up front and get a feel for where the costs might be at, that's a big advantage. Surveyor, certifier, structural engineer, electrical consultant. The list keeps going. So the electrical consultant is a lot more important for us in recent times than previously. Often, in days gone by, it was a tick and flick for getting your telecommunications and electricity connections. But now with NBN and Telstra, they're both having a competition to see who can do as little as possible on new sites. So getting those connections at the moment is very tricky and time consuming. Often there's a minimum of 6 months lead in to get a phone line or internet connection, and if you go to do that at the end of your project for plan sealing, you're in trouble. You can't seal your plan because you can't meet all your DA conditions. So a valuer as well, they're pretty important. Again, just being able to have a chat up front and say, look, this is the sort of product I'm thinking in this area. Could you support these sorts of values? Agents for a similar reason. And sometimes you need other guys, hydraulic guys, acoustic guys, interior designer. It's a long list.
Yeah, it is. But I think the big point there is that you don't know what you don't know. And for doing any sort of construction or development, there's heaps of different things that need to be done. There's heaps of different things that need to be considered. And there's no way that one person can know all of it. And so that's why you need these people to come in and give you the help where they can to make sure that what you get is right and gets through the relevant government authorities.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, having a brief understanding of as many disciplines as you can, I guess, is pretty important for what I do, because the best deals don't last long. So you need to be able to move on something quickly if it fits your criteria. But I think it's also pretty important to give yourself a conditional period in the contract whenever possible, so you can get the answers from the professionals as well. Yep,
excellent. All right. So recently, not in the last few years, you moved into property syndication. Why did you do that?
Look, basically, we had the capacity to run more projects in the office, but there is a limit on the number of projects you can buy yourself. So I try to do as many projects as we can ourselves. But particularly with the way financing is at the moment, there's the cash requirements in a lot of development projects can be pretty intense. And syndicates let us participate in more projects without having to fund more projects. So at the moment, the split is probably 50-50 between our own projects and projects that we run in a syndicate structure. So the way we do that is we find the project, we get the approvals, we manage the build, we get the finance, provide guarantees for the finance. We handle all aspects of the project basically from start to finish, but the capital requirement comes from investors, and then we share in the outcome of the project. So I guess it was an exercise in absorbing the excess capacity in the office, and doing more projects, getting more experience, and making more money is the idea.
Yeah, and how's that worked out? Not just the money, but just getting the more experience and getting more projects in the door. Is that all going well?
Yeah, no, it's really good. So it's a passive role, I guess, for the investors, but we're pretty proactive in our updates. So we have login areas on our website for each of the individual projects. So at any time, anyone can log on and see what's happening, and there's photos and there's updates and there's copies of reports and approvals and plans and valuations and all kinds of things. And look, the feedback's been very positive to this point. I think we're up to number 7 or 8, get something like that. So, look, I'm happy, and we're gonna keep doing that structure. The first couple, I guess, is sort of finding our feet, finding out which style of project works best. But we've certainly at each step continue to refine what we do, and I think we've got a pretty good balance happening at the moment.
Very good, very good. Well,
Yeah.
let's give some people some examples. So anyone who's listening to the podcast, if you head over to our Facebook page, if you search for Business Legal Lifecycle, you'll find a copy of the video there, or you can visit our website, businesslegallifecycle.com.au. But let's go through some examples, Adam, and run us through with what you're doing at some recent projects, and give us some examples,
Yeah.
and we'll show some of the photos that you've given us to show people.
Yeah, okay. So look, we tend to do whatever suits at the time. Different time periods, different strategies tend to suit. There was a few years ago where the focus was on units and unit sites. There was a tremendous window of opportunity to buy a site, get a DA, and on-sell it.
Mm-hmm.
But that window has very firmly closed now. It's been closed for some time now. So we've moved away from that, and we're building owner-occupier houses and owner-occupier townhouses in good locations in inner city Brisbane. Typically, we focus on north, just because that's where I know a bit more than south. The traditional splitter has been done to death, and it's hard to make those sites stack up when you're competing with builders, and they make one margin on the project and the build, whereas we're developers, so we still have to pay retail for our builders and make a margin ourselves. So what we've been doing of recent times is taking advantage of some relatively recent updates in the city plan, and doing splitters on small lots, the 5 to 600 square metre lots. Smaller LMR stuff that you might have previously put some townhouses on, we're just cutting those in half and doing premium houses.
Yep.
In pairs. So we're doing those in places like Windsor, Hamilton, and Clayfield. They're places where people want to live, and there's not a lot of land around, so they're happy to pay good money for a house on a smaller block of land. Also, owner-occupied townhouses. Just finished some in Wooloowin, and we're currently building 5 in Carina, and we're about to kick off another 5 in Hamilton.
Yep.
So pretty keen on Hamilton at the moment. I mean, there's the pocket that everyone knows being near Racecourse Road, but there's, I guess, the Port Cousins been the pocket a bit further away. But given all the action happening around Eagle Farm at the moment, some of those slightly lesser attractive areas of Hamilton and Ascot and Hendra are sort of coming into their own, because they're now ideally located on that in that racing precinct that's getting a real shot in the arm at the moment. So
So the photos
we got there,
the photos we've got, there's the Carina site, so we've got a picture of the house, and then we've got where you're currently up to, and
so roof's going on there.
Yep.
The townhouses, that's a block of 5. Yep.
Yeah, so that's you've bought the block, demolished the house. Is that is that right? And then building a block of 5 townhouses. And when's that likely to be completed? When's that heading on?
6 months.
6 months. Okay, so we're recording this in January. So that's a good time frame. The other ones that you gave me were Wooloowin, the house. So there's the Wooloowin house that you're upgrading. Is that you're putting 2 houses on there, or what are you doing?
Yeah, no. So that one was in a demolition, or the old demolition control area, but now it's called a traditional building character overlay. So I had to keep the house.
Yep.
So we just kept the house and made it beautiful.
Yep.
And built freehold townhouses out the back, fronting the side street. So you should have those there. And again, they were pitched at an owner-occupier market, a bit bigger than usual, and a bit better finished than usual. And they both went to, they all went to owner occupiers, I think. Okay. Yeah,
that's excellent. Yeah, cool. And the last one that you gave me were the townhouses in Wooloowin.
Yeah, so that they're at the back of the house.
That's the same one.
Site.
Yep. Okay.
Gotcha. Yeah.
That's the same site. Okay, understood. All right. So everyone can see those photos. As I say, if you are listening to the podcast and you're interested, you can check out the video, and you can see the photos on there. So let's have a chat around the future. So what's next on the horizon for you?
Look, more of the same, to be a bit boring, to be honest. Like I said, I think we've got a pretty good balance at the moment between our own projects and the syndicate projects, and I'm comfortable with the product mix that we're producing. I mean, I'm happy doing 5 or 6 projects a year at a particular size in good locations. I'm not, even though I've been doing it for 10 years almost now, the full time as a developer, I'm comfortable at the space that we're operating in. I've got no ambitions to go build a tower of units or anything like that. I think it's just too, particularly in this environment. It's not something I'm comfortable doing. So no, look, more of the same. I know it's a boring answer. I'm sorry, but that's the truth.
No, but it's good though. I mean, it's tried and tested method. You're doing well with it. So why move? Why change? It makes complete sense to keep on going down that path.
Yeah. No, good.
Cool. All right. Well, let's go through the quickfire questions. So you ready for? Just give me the first thought that comes to mind based on the questions. All right.
All right.
So the first one is: what piece of advice has stuck with you the most that you've heard over the years?
Look, it's hard to go past Buffett's "be greedy when others are fearful and fearful when others are greedy." I think that's although he was obviously talking about stocks, it's very applicable to property as well. I mean, you can think of some rezonings that happened around Brisbane a number of years ago, particularly places like Chermside. We sort of knew it was coming and bought a few sites and made some good money pretty quickly, but there's a lot of people who were very late to that party, and they were, I guess, greedy at the wrong time. So I'm happy that we got out at the right time. So we were, I guess, fearful, which was good. But my only regret with that is we could have been greedier at the start. I knew it was coming, but you just, you buy a couple and let's just see what happens.
Yep.
And then with the benefit of hindsight, I would have bought a whole lot more. But anyway.
Yeah, I love that quote from Warren Buffett. It really applies to the people who bought cryptocurrency up till the Christmas time.
Yeah,
they were certainly they should have been fearful when others were being greedy. But anyway, that's a whole other discussion and topic to go through.
Absolutely.
Question number 2: if a person wanted to decide to go into properties or shares as an investment tool, what would be the first key thing that they should consider?
Don't ask me. Don't take advice from me. Take professional advice. Look, everyone's different, have different risk profiles and different appetites for risk and investment knowledge and investment experience. And look, we've got a lot of shares, but I leave that management of those to other people. I can't add value. Property is where I can add value, so that's where I spend my time. If you're not an expert in that area, engage someone who is.
Yep, good advice. Yeah. And the final one: if you could give advice to your younger self, what would that advice be?
Be patient, I think. Don't make hasty decisions. I can certainly think of a few occasions where, in years gone by, I've made a decision that's had a short-term benefit, but I've lived to ultimately regret that. So I'm trying not to do that anymore, trying to think with a longer term time frame than I had previously. But look, patience is not something I had I don't have a lot of it now, but I had even less of it when I was younger. So patience.
Patience is a good virtue for people to have, and I'm the same. And so something we can all work on is having a little bit more patience and taking a bit more time. Yeah. All right. Well, great. Thank you, Adam, very much. I think people who have been listening to this or watching us on the Facebook Live would have got a lot of value out of today. Where can people reach you if they want to discuss anything with you?
Yeah, look, the best place to see what we're about is probably the website. That's blackbeargroup.com.au. Also on our Facebook page, been a little bit more active of recent times. Probably not as active as yourself. That's pretty hard to keep up with on Facebook.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, if anyone is interested in, they've got a site they're interested in offloading or are curious about getting involved in a passive role in any in investment or development, I'm always happy to have a chat. So yeah, you can find my details on the website.
Sounds good. Well, we'll link to that on our show notes.
for anyone who is interested in connecting with Adam. You'll be able to find that on our website. So look, as I said, thank you very much for your time, Adam. I think you've given some great insights for people. So thanks very much.
That's all right. Thank you.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that interview with Adam Jones from the Black Bear Investment Group and that you got a lot out of it. I know I certainly did. Again, the three main things that we talked about was his reasons for getting into property investing. So I hope you found that interesting. The second one was how you start out small and how you develop that over a period of time. So you would have seen that Adam started with a very small subdivision, and now he's getting into bigger townhouse developments and unit developments. He doesn't have any plans, as he said, to go crazy and build large developments, but you can see the kind of progression. And that, in my experience, and as I said in the interview, is something that I think I'm very passionate about, is people starting out small and building up that experience so that they build up their experience going forward. And the third thing I hope you got out of today was that the number of consultants that you need to speak to do it properly. This is not something that you can do on the back of a coaster. This is not something that you can do on the barbecue advice from your well-meaning friends and family. Make sure that you go and get advice from those people. Have a look at the show notes and have a look at the workbook, and you'll see the list of consultants that we need to get into that. So thank you very much for listening and watching. Craig, do you want to finish off?
Yeah, absolutely. And as I said in the intro to the interview, we thank Adam and anyone else who's given any interviews to using their time, sharing with everyone that's either listening or watching. So we really appreciate that. We'll be back on Monday for Fast Fix Monday. We're going to be talking more about investing in property. So we welcome you to join us then for Fast Fix Monday. And until then, we'll see you later.
Thanks very much.